Hello, Sean again. Just have a couple of thoughts today, but I wanted to start with a couple of stories. They may or may not be true stories. They could be true. They sound like they could be true. The first story is about a man at an airport, kind of a very important man. He's a scholar and he's the president of a university, and he's heading off to a conference when he hears the announcement over the PA that his flight has been canceled. So he immediately rushes up to the desk and says to the person behind the desk, "I need to get on the next flight." And the airline employee says to him, "Well, sir, there's a lot of people that need to get on flights. You'll just have to wait." And the man says, "Do you know who I am?" At which point the airline employee picks up the microphone and announces over the PA, "Ladies and gentlemen, does anyone know who this man is? He seems to have forgotten." So that's the first story. As I say, it probably has happened. It's a story that really reflects an experience that all of us have at times when we think our needs are the most important needs in the universe, and that we think, when we think we are the most important people in the world. The second story is kind of the opposite story. A man walks into a psychiatrist's office and says to the receptionist, I have this problem, I think I'm invisible. And the secretary says to him, "Well, I'm sorry, sir, but the doctor can't see you right now." So that's kind of the opposite problem that we have sometimes. We think that we're not important at all. We think we're invisible. We don't really have a sense of ourselves. So of course, as I was saying the other day about balance and the golden mean, life is really about finding the medium between those things of feeling unimportant and feeling overly important, of making ourselves too large or too small. So we want to find the balance between those things. We want to hold our needs and our preferences lightly, but we want to hold them. We don't want to give them up totally, but we also want to always remember that our needs and our preferences aren't really what make the world go round. So how do we do that? How do we find that balance? How do we find that sense of ourselves? Or as somebody said to me, a colleague just this morning, how do we own ourselves, who we are? And I think there's just a couple of things I would say. One is that we need to be reflective. We need to be honest with ourselves about our faults and our strengths. And I think most of the time we know what those things are, but it's important for us to be honest about them. The second thing I would say is that we need to listen to other people. It's amazing how well other people know us. It's amazing how well our friends, our family, and our teachers really see us as we are. Very often better than we see more accurately than we see ourselves. So it's important to develop that ability to hear other people when they kind of confront us maybe with some of the things that we should be thinking about. I think the third thing I would say is that we need to be patient with ourselves. We need to be accepting of both our strengths and our faults. And I think that comes from the other things that I mentioned. It comes from being honest with ourselves and listening to others, learning how to really be patient and kind with ourselves, as other people generally are pretty patient and kind with us, I think. And the final thing I would say is we need not to underplay our abilities. We are remarkable. Human beings are remarkable creatures. I was teaching psychiatry, AP psychology this morning, and what we learned is that a speck of brain the size of a grain of sand has in it 100,000 neurons. And if you think about that, you think, wow, sometimes we think we're not capable of understanding something or we're not capable of figuring something out. But in our brain, a speck of the size of sand is 100,000 neurons. So I suspect that all of us are far more capable than we think we are. So all of those things are kind of come into play, and when we mix them all together, we kind of can find that place in ourselves where we find some balance and some center. And I think then we really become comfortable with ourselves and allow others to be comfortable with us as well. So there's a few thoughts for today. Have a great rest of the week.